So I've known this for a long time, but I never thought I'd ever be able to talk about it. Well, let's just get to the meat, shall we? This is John Ramirez, who is a former intelligence officer for the Central Intelligence Agency. Here's John showing his career intelligence medal with his name on it and the accompanying certificate signed by then CIA Director Leon Panetta. John Ramirez is the real deal. That said, John, through a legal loophole that releases him from a non-disclosure agreement on a few things, just admitted some stuff that I never thought would become public. He admitted that Google, the same Google that you and I know and use, were given their search technology and the Google Earth functionality by the Central Intelligence Agency, in return for Google being the tech company that's going to translate, disseminate, and manage data transfers between extraterrestrials and humans. And here he is in his own words.
There were 3 items on the agenda. One was a historical look back at CIA's relationship with UFOs in general. That's where slide 53 was the McMinnville UFO, the famous one in 1950. And that was briefed as, this is an authentic UFO. The reason why it's never been successfully debunked is because it is authentic and we know it. Number 2 was hybrids. And number 3 was the future of information technology will explode. We're working with a company to disseminate and allow a dialogue of information like this and other information.
John, is
and
this
that
the
company is Google. Google.
Okay.
Google, because we had a relationship with Google already. We provided them with Earth Viewer, which became Google Earth, and we provided them with search tools, which became Google Search.
Furthermore, he talked about the underground facilities in St. Louis, talked about his visits to Area 51, and admitted that the CIA knows for a fact that the human race is a mix of primate and alien DNA, and that certain bloodlines got more augmentation than others, and that those bloodlines get surveilled their entire lives by the world's intelligence communities. Wow. I mean, maybe disclosure really is on the calendar. I don't know. This is a high-ranking CIA officer who knows Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon. The amount of info he gives up on the human hybrid program... And I say that knowing a lot of shit. If you want to watch the whole interview, go to YouTube, Unidentified Celebrity Review, and look up John Ramirez. Now why, at the end of this particular video, would I remind you to start meditating and developing the powers of your mind? Because that's exactly what I'm telling you to do. Why would I mention that here? Might there be some kind of connection here? You have seen the recent videos I've done where science has proved conclusively that your consciousness reaches out beyond your body, right? That's beyond Six Sigma science, surpassing the minimum requirement that science considers something conclusive evidence. You should probably learn to speak the language of tomorrow. Stay tuned. Love you guys. Peace. All right, so this is part 2 of the CIA officer John Ramirez interview. This is where he's talking about the human-alien hybrid program and how the CIA can cover that up, and how certain high-tech companies can help identify and track those individuals with help of data from companies like 23andMe. There will be a part 3, but let's just let John talk.
One point that I'll talk about without getting CIA's permission. Since World War II, we learned that there has been an alien hybridization of humans.
Exclusively since World War II?
World War II. That's when the CIA learned about it. World War II. That's what prompted me to look back at World War II and say, okay, where did this information come from?
But still, it should be a DNA record of that. We should be able to tell them.
Absolutely. And that's what's not released. That's still...
Well, but I mean, this is being done by academics. It's, the government doesn't do the DNA research.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Well, sure, but I would... it's not private, right? There's no classification of our DNA. You can't classify looking into our DNA. You can classify our DNA? You think that they're holding secrets of our DNA from us?
Certainly.
How could they do that?
Because the law allows CIA and the intelligence community to do operations like that because no one bothers to read the law.
So you think that they're going into like the university biology programs and saying, don't study this, you can't publish these documents?
No, that's not the way it's done.
Wouldn't that mean they're also redacting information from organizations like 23andMe and Ancestry and those others?
Once you give your blood, once you give your saliva to 23andMe and these others, if you read the fine print, you gave away your DNA for the purposes of, creating
research.
Big pharma.
Is the CIA and other intelligence organizations working directly with these companies to limit what information they put back out to the populace?
I don't know. I don't know that. That's why I mentioned Cosmos ID, because there's a company involved in the human genome, involved in bioinformatics, involved in DNA. And then you look at the company, and then you look at who are the consultants to that company. It's a who's who of IC officers. And the company was started by somebody from the National Science Foundation. And so if you go back to FOIA and you go back to National Science Foundation and you research who these people are, all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, these guys are really well connected. In fact, one of the officers was CEO of EG&G. EG&G was the parking lot where Eric W. Davis allegedly had his conversation with Admiral Wilson. He went to the EG&G facility in North Las Vegas. And the guy who was the CEO of that company, who is the operations maintenance contractor at Area 51, is part of the scientific consultation team for Cosmos ID.
Part 3 being posted very soon.
Share this.
So this is part 3 of the John Ramirez interview that we linked to in the top pinned comment of part 1.
But they said specifically that. But they didn't provide any evidence, but they said this is
after
specific.
World War II, yes, that they discovered that humans are hybrids after World War II. So in my mind, they said, okay, do we know of how we could have gotten alien DNA after World War II? And then I go, Roswell crash, bodies. Were there actually bodies recovered? Did we go back into the bodies and find evidence of their DNA and ours and theirs? I don't know. But the other officer who claimed that he saw the Roswell files, Chase Brandon, said, yep, there were like non-human intelligences recovered from the Roswell crash. He said he saw it. All of us are hybrids. Some are more hybridized than others. They told us that we know there are certain families that have been hybridized to a great extent than others, and we will be following those families. You know, and so I'm going with that, and that's a hard one to swallow. I understand. Yeah. Right. But I mean, I can't swallow it either. I'm just telling you, this is what I was told. And so that's a research point for others to research or to debunk or to not believe. I mean, it's up to you. I am very confident that the government is sitting on this. And in order to understand the UAP in its entirety, where it came from, why they're here, who's driving them, you have to go back to, like, what's our role? Why are they here talking to us? Why do they want to interact with us? And you have to get past, you got to build that bridge to the fact that we are hybrids and we may have been hybridized by them, and they themselves may be hybrids, in order to get back to the true UAP story and why it's so secret. Because this will, if the government actually, if the President Biden actually says we're all hybrids and, you know, we're alien hybrids, well, what would happen? The stock market would like plunge. I mean, everything would just collapse, and that can't happen. So you have to have this, what I call this controlled dissemination, a little at a time. Let's talk about, we already know about the craft. Okay, there's things in the air, great. And now, for the first time, somebody in position of authority, like the DNI Avril Haines, said that the extraterrestrial component to this.
So we'll stop here. You should really watch the whole interview out on YouTube, because frankly, we do have a right to know our human origin story, which will help us understand the level of capabilities that our human minds have that have been buried for hundreds of years, thousands of years. It may just be in your DNA. Stuff that you can turn back on with practice. Stay tuned to this channel, because that's what we're all about here. We don't need to know the whole truth to push our personal capabilities forward, and truthfully, that's really what I want to help you do. For those of you who have asked how to support, check that out on Linktree. And that's it until tomorrow. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Peace.